This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hello and welcome everyone to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Ruth Ellen Sanchez and I'm going to be your host for today. And today we have our special guest, Ben Fuchs, who is going to enlighten us on all things that he knows about, so many things. And also this program is for informational purposes only and not meant to treat, diagnose, or cure any diseases and not meant to replace the care of your primary care physician. So with that said, and it was a short version, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and bring Ben on because he has a hard stop today. We want to make sure to get every moment we can with him. So Ben, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for filling in for Rebecca. Nice to see you. And then, you know, I had a conversation last night and we were going to talk about one thing, but you said you thought tinnitus would be a more appropriate topic, right?
Yes. Yes.
So,
I actually have somebody that came on just to hear about
tinnitus?
Yes.
What you want to put them on? Are they literally on the call?
I don't know if they're here yet. I'm going to check with them when.
Yeah, see if they're on the call. If they want to come on, I understand.
Okay.
So
I will.
here's the thing, and AJ will tell you this. And by the way, AJ is incredible in the sense that he learns so well, and I am very, very confident in turning people over to AJ because he understands this inside and out, and he understands what I'm talking about inside and out. And what I talk about is really outside the box, and it's very unorthodox and unconventional. So to understand it means that you're thinking instead of just repeating. Do you ever hear the Chinese room? Did you guys ever hear the Chinese room experiment? Or it's a thought experiment, actually. Anybody ever hear the Chinese room thought experiment? I'm just going to give a little, it's kind of like a little, somewhat off topic, but it's kind of interesting. This famous philosopher, John Searle, came up with this thought experiment. He calls the Chinese room thought experiment. So imagine, and a thought experiment is an experiment that you do just in your head. Think about it. So John Searle, famous philosopher, came up with this idea of a thought experiment he calls the Chinese room. So imagine this. You're locked inside a room. You don't understand Chinese at all. And through a little slot in the wall, people are passing you slips of paper that are covered with Chinese hieroglyphics or letters. I don't know if you've ever seen Chinese hieroglyphics or letters. They're just all these weird things, right? And inside the room, you have this book, a rule book, a dictionary book that translates Chinese to English. And as these people are passing the piece of papers to you, you follow the rules and you pass back new slips of paper with Chinese characteristics, and you're answering all the questions perfectly, and the responses are perfect. And people who speak Chinese say, "Oh, whoever's in that room really understands Chinese." But inside the room, you got no idea what anything means. You're just manipulating the shapes based on the rules. It's called the Chinese room experiment. And what this has to do with health is oftentimes we're talking to people who are in a Chinese room and they know nothing about health. They're just reading a book and they're putting slips of paper back and it sounds like they know what they're talking about. And they don't have no idea what they're talking about. They're just reading it from a book and putting slips of paper back and repeating it. And the problem with this approach is you can't really tailor your responses to specific situations because you don't really know. And AJ, we were talking about this earlier about riffing, about being able to riff. If you really understand something, you can communicate it perfectly and appropriately for the person, for the situation, and you can really make a difference in people's lives. So often in this business, we got people who are in a Chinese room looking through the book and putting slips of paper back out like they know what they're talking about. And that does a disservice to our patients and our clients. And it ultimately makes us all look stupid. And it makes the whole business look stupid. So AJ, I commend you for really understanding this stuff, not just repeating things back that you read in a book in the Chinese experiment. So
Thanks,
thank
Ben.
you for that.
Our whole team learns from you.
And I appreciate that. And everybody on the team should understand this, is that you don't want to just repeat things you heard. And that's why I'm always adamant about not being anybody's authority. I want you to understand this. I don't want to just say, take this, take that. I really want you to understand how this works. So yeah, we're going to talk about tinnitus, but if you really understand how tinnitus works, you can help people with heart disease and diabetes and other health challenges. So it's really important to, it's not that complicated. So one of the first things we have to, one of the first hurdles we have to jump over is this intimidation factor. Oh, I don't understand biology. Oh, he's a doctor, and oh, I can't do it. I got to go call Ben or AJ or whatever. We can all do this. It's not complicated. MBFA, my body's falling apart disease, dirty blood, the triangle of disease, things get in, leaky gut, metabolic syndrome. It's just basic ideas that we keep repeating. That being said, let's talk about tinnitus. One of the hallmark rules that we talk about all the time is where you see the problem is not where the problem begins. This is important for two reasons. First of all, because it's true, and you're not going to be able to solve a problem by looking at where the problem is. But number two, and maybe more importantly, is that's not how doctors work. They work as specialists. So if somebody has tinnitus, they're going to go to a tinnitus specialist or an ear specialist or a head specialist or a neurologist. They're not going to go to a GI person because they don't know the triangle of disease. They don't know leaky gut. They're not going to go to a naturopath to study metabolic syndrome because they haven't connected metabolic syndrome to tinnitus. And this is our culture, and we're going against the culture, people. We're going against the culture. We're going against everybody. Now, present company excluded, of course, because you wouldn't be on this call, listening to me, contradict everything that is in the mainstream if you were on the call. So you're already predisposed to thinking outside the box, but our clients aren't. The people we're talking to aren't. The public isn't. So we got to know that we're going to have to jump over a hurdle of this idea. Oh, I have tinnitus. I go to a tinnitus specialist, or I go to a ear doctor. If you have tinnitus, you got a rotten fruit on the tree. Where do you have to go? You got to go to the soil. You got to go to the root. And the way you do this is by looking for what's called comorbidities. Triangulation. Remember Bob Ross? I know I keep repeating myself, but repetition is reinforcement. I feel silly sometimes repeating myself, but we have to do it. You got a big white canvas. You got a dot in the middle of the canvas. That ain't nothing. That's a dot in the middle of the canvas. You put a second dot. That's still nothing. That's two dots. But you put a third dot, and all of a sudden, you can see a river. And a fourth dot, and you can see a landscape, and a fifth dot, and you can see trees, and sixth dot, and you start to see pictures emerge. Those are called data points, sampling points. We're looking for as much data as we can get. So when somebody has tinnitus, number one, where you see the problem is not where the problem begins. Now, slight exception, if you had brain damage, if you have noise damage, if you were in the military and something exploded, or you're working on a runway, pulling the planes in, you can have some damage. That's possible. But for the most part, people who have tinnitus have a degenerative condition where the body's just falling apart. And the way you figure this out is by looking for comorbidities, which is why I always like talking to people. So for this person, I would ask, what else is going on? Now, in lieu of that, we don't have the person here. And sometimes people don't really know what's going on because we're not trained to look at our own symptoms. You can assume there's inflammation. There's some kind of inflammatory condition. Inflammation is the common denominator of all degenerative conditions. Inflammation is the common denominator. Inflammation to most people, not on this call, of course, but to most people is a word. It doesn't mean anything. But to us on this call, we know that inflammation is a cushion, a beaver's dam, an airbag. It's protection. When we hear inflammation, again, not on this call because we've talked about it so much, but when most people hear inflammation, they think of a black eye or broken arm or broken leg or, a knot on your head, swelling. But it's important to recognize that inflammation happens microscopically too. Same thing, it's just happening at a microscopic level. It's analogous to the macro inflammation. It's microinflammation. It's the same thing. It's swelling. It's a beaver's dam. It's protection. It's a cushion, which is great because it keeps you alive. When it's chronic, it's a problem. Because while inflammation is an airbag, and that's protective, micro, we're talking about the cell level, not at the big level, but at the microscopic level, and it's protective, it's also going to be a problem because it's a beaver's dam. So anything within that beaver's dam or that airbag or that wall is not going to be able to get oxygenated because oxygen can't get through the beaver's dam. And it's not going to get nourished because nutrients can't get through the beaver's dam. And toxins can't leave the beaver's dam or the airbag or the walled off area. So toxins are going to accumulate. And it's this chronic, long-term, over and over and over again, microinflammation that ultimately leads to the degenerative disease process. Does that make sense, you guys? That's a really, really important. Think beaver's dam, think inflammation at the microscopic level. If it happens once, that's great. It's protective, it's important, but it happens over and over and over again over the course of the days and weeks and months and years and decades. Eventually, large pockets of cells, of tissue, of organ is not going to get fed. It's not going to get oxygenated. It's going to accumulate toxicity. And this is where we're at. This is why people say, I was fine yesterday and today I got Parkinson's. What the heck happened? What happened was you reached a critical mass where all of a sudden you got into a tipping point. But you can't see it because it's microscopic. So it looks to you or it looks to the patient. Hey, I'm watching TV. Boom. I'm shaking. What happened? How did that happen? It looks so random because we don't see it percolating underneath for the days and the weeks, the months, the years, the decades. So when somebody has tinnitus, if you really want to help them, you got to look for data points. Hopefully they know some, and usually they will. Most important is the digestive system. And even in lieu of data points, if they don't know, work on the digestive system, not because I'm Mr. Digestive Guy, not because I'm David Avocado Wolf, not because I'm Eat Your Vegetables, Mr. Organic Guy, but because that's how the toxicity gets into the blood. Logically, this is all logic. And the other way things get into the blood, of course, is through injection. And that's why any medical professional who tells you to prophylactically, that is preventively take an injection just in case, should be somebody that you run away from. You never inject into the blood unless you absolutely have no other option for this reason, because the blood is distributing everything. It's a sacred space. That's where everything begins. So for most people, it's not going to be injection. It's going to be through a leaky gut. So for tinnitus, again, at the risk of just saying the same thing over and over again, you work on digestive health. We have a food diary up at criticalhealthnews.com. Do a food diary. Eliminate problem foods. Sometimes it's a little bit complicated because sometimes we don't know digestive symptoms. I cannot tell you the amount of times, and I'm sure everybody who's counseled with people will agree with this, where people say, oh, I don't have any digestive problems. And then you start to talk, and oh, yeah, I got a little heartburn every once in a while. Oh, yeah, I am constipated. Oh, yeah, I have. You just don't know. They go under the radar. So you can just assume where there's smoke, there's fire. Smoke means tinnitus. There's a fire somewhere. And it's no accident that the word inflammation has flame right in the middle. When you're inflamed, there's a fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Degenerative disease is inflammatory disease without exception. Let me say that again. Degenerative disease is inflammatory disease without exception. It is the hallmark cardinal sign of degenerative disease is inflammation, which is very interesting, really, and metaphorical, because inflammation is a defensive response. And think about it, we're all going through our lives in this defensive response. Our culture encourages, induces defensive response. Who doesn't feel attacked all the time, right? I don't watch the news anymore, but if you watch the news, it's attack, 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 whether it's another country or it's whether the government or it's whether a riot or whatever it is, everything's about attack. So our bodies manifest this metaphorically in a way. We're all feeling like we're under attack. We're not feeling we're under attack. We're all biochemically under attack, which means our immune system, our defense system is up, which is what inflammation is. Inflammation is the calling part of the immune system. So for this gal with tinnitus, look for comorbidities and then address the comorbidities, not the tinnitus. There's no tinnitus. It's not an accident that there's no cure for tinnitus. because you can't do anything to the ear. It's not an accident that there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease. It's not an accident that cancer rates keep going up, even though we have a war on cancer. It's no accident that we keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker, despite the fact we got more specialists than any other culture in the history of mankind. When was the last time a specialist got rid of somebody's disease? Never. Because the disease process is not special, it's generic.
Right.
No specialists. You don't need a specialist. Okay, so tinnitus, look for comorbidity, A. B, whether or not they say it or not, patch up a leaky gut, food diary, daily digest, I-26, ultimate enzymes, ultimate microbiome, nightly essence. What am I missing here? You could throw in Dr. Arya's liver cleanse, anything with digestive health. And even if you're not sick, by the way, just for longevity, just do your digestive health. Secondly, what's the second point? This is all the triangle of disease, by the way. Second point, metabolic syndrome. Rebecca and Dr. Wallach wrote a book all about metabolic syndrome, little pamphlets, easy to read. I suggest everybody gets this book. It explains everything, how metabolic syndrome works. Metabolic syndrome used to be called Syndrome X. It's also known as insulin resistance syndrome. It has to do with elevated blood sugar, but not just elevated blood sugar, also elevated insulin, all the blood sugar stuff. What am I talking about? The ears? I'm not talking about the ears. I'm talking about the blood. I'm talking about the system. I'm talking about the entire body as an integrative, holistic entity, the whole thing. Metabolic syndrome. If you want to throw in a couple other things, relax the body. People who have tinnitus tend to have an exaggerated stress response. That's what common denominator among tinnitus patients. So do things that calm the body down. The GABA product, I forgot what it's called, the one, not Sleep Ease, but there's another one we have that has GABA in it, which I forgot the name of. De-stress, magnesium, anything with well, we don't have anything actually that has pregnenolone and progesterone. These are also calming agents. Antioxidants like vitamin E, anything that calms the body down, calms inflammation down. And of course, it all starts with the Healthy Start Pack. So some of you are going to say, but I have tinnitus. I want help with my tinnitus. Others are going to say, that makes perfect sense, Ben. We're going to start working on the whole system. If you're one of those people who says, hey, but I have tinnitus, you're not helping with my tinnitus, sorry. If you're one of those people who say, let's take care of the body, not only are you going to address your tinnitus, but you're going to add years to your life, and you're going to reduce your risks of other comorbidities like autoimmune diseases, which go hand in hand with people or associate with people who have tinnitus, or cardiovascular disease or other health challenges, which is the beauty of this system. When you work this way, holistically and integrative, you reduce the risks of all diseases, all of them. If you take a pharmaceutical drug for a health challenge, you're not affecting your other disease states. You're not even affecting the health challenge. You're just hiding the symptoms. You're jury rigging it. You're disguising it. You're committing a fraud. You're doctoring. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that literally. That's what it means to doctor something. You're making it look like you're healthy because the test scores have changed. You've modified the test score, but you haven't changed the health. And that's the beauty of working this way. That's the beauty of nutrition. That's why I call nutrition God's medicine. And so that's why we're all here today. And that's what longevity is all about. And that's what Dr. Wallach was talking about. Is when you work this way, you're working with the body. When you work allopathically, you're working against the body. Allo means against. You're working against the body. We want to work with the body for maximum results. If you work against the body, you're not going to get not only optimum results, you're not going to get any results, but it will look like you made a change. As far as the tinnitus person goes, tinnitus, the diagnosis of tinnitus, there's nothing you can do anyway. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. He sent me a text message because he doesn't want to speak. So some people don't like to talk on camera.
I get it.
And I totally understand.
I get it.
So he says that it happened when he was 16 years old. And
Tinnitus?
yeah, he says he got his wisdom teeth pulled at 16. And then shortly after that, he went to a Deep Purple concert. Okay,
then that's a different thing. That's what I was talking about, is the sound.
Yeah.
He might have had some damage there. And that's
Yeah.
different. That's not degenerative tinnitus, although there may be some degeneration. That's a mechanical trauma, and that's a little
Yeah.
bit different. If that indeed is the case, like I said, if you're in the military or you're working on a runway or it's rare that it's one concert that will do it, but let's assume that that's the case. You still want to do the same strategy. There's nothing you can do directly to that part of the body to target it, but you can correct the inflammatory triggers that make the problem worse.
Right.
And that's the key. If there's mechanical damage there, which can happen, then that's mechanical damage. We're not talking here about mechanical damage. We're talking about degenerative conditions. Now, the chances are good for this person that if this happened when he was 16 and hasn't been corrected, that the condition is degenerated. So the solutions are the same. But as far as mechanical damage goes, there's nothing you could do just to make them, if something really is mechanically damaged, to repair the damage. But you can reduce the inflammatory milieu around the condition so the body can do its work. And that's what you want to do. That's the strategy. And again, it's going to, regardless of what it's going to do for your tinnitus, it's going to add years to your life.
Okay. I agree. And then he says that he believes that the digestive system is part of the problem. He's had trouble most of his life until he changed to mostly carnivore keto diet. And then he said his colitis is mostly gone, and he has.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. His what?
Yeah,
His
colitis.
what?
Yeah.
You see, this is what I'm telling you. You see what I'm saying? Come on,
Well,
people. That's what I'm saying. Folks, this is just logical. This is just logical. Now, again, if he has colitis, there's no colitis angel that sprinkled colitis dust on his head. That's a degenerative condition.
Well, he changed his diet.
Well,
too.
no, hang on though. First of all, he might change his diet, but that doesn't mean he hasn't completely eradicated the problem. But what was causing the colitis all along that was leading to the degenerative condition? So maybe now he changed the colitis, but it has a history of blood toxicity, of hypercoagulation, of inflammation. Not only that, but remember this, people. This is really important, and it goes under the radar sometimes, so we have to say it again. When you have colitis, which is just a generic term, it means an inflamed colon. That doesn't tell you anything. He's got an inflamed colon. When you have an inflamed colon, whether you call it colitis or it's all these they call them differential diagnoses, these different names for things. All the same thing. You can call it IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Syndrome, by the way, means a lot of things happening related to one condition. That's leaky gut right there. That's the whole etiology or cause of leaky gut is the syndrome. So you got IBS, or you call it IBD. Now they have two different kinds of IBD. It's so ridiculous. IBD with diarrhea or IBD with constipation. Please. So that way you have a specialist for IBD-C or IBD-D. So if somebody has their special degree, I specialize in IBCC or IBDC. It's just silly. Crohn's disease, celiac disease, colitis, irritable bowel, whatever. You got an inflamed intestine, period. And when you have that problem, not only do you have the toxicity, leaky gut, but now you have malabsorption. You got a 1-2 punch. So now you're in the heavyweight ring with Muhammad Ali with one arm tied behind your back because you don't have your B vitamins. You don't have your electrolytes. You don't have your EFAs. You don't have your vitamin E. You don't have all your nutrients because or at least you have less of them because you're inflamed. See what I'm saying? It says 1-2 punch.
Right.
So in addition to all the things you want to do to correct leaky gut and correct the digestive milieu, you want to pound the nutrition, most especially this sucker right here, but slowly. Because if you don't have the absorptive capacity because of the inflammation in the intestine, you're going to have an unpleasant result from this stuff because it's going to come right through you. And that's how often do we hear this?
Often.
Right?
And that's Tangy Tangerine because he's on the phone and we have a few people on the phone. So it's Tangy Tangerine.
I know. This is Tangy Tangerine. I know you can't see it.
But
you don't want 2 scoops all at once. If you do 2 scoops all at once, you may never do it again. How many people do you know, Ruth Ellen and distributors, who tried BTT for a couple of days? I ain't touching that stuff ever again because I had explosive diarrhea and cramping and bloating.
I was one of those people.
Right?
And
Right? I hate that stuff. What are those guys
said,
talking
what's
about?
happening?
I
Yeah,
can't. What are they all talking about? You know, every time I do it, I got cramps and bloating. So you're doing too much. You
yeah.
want small doses, and you want it with food and with meals.
We always start people slow, half
Slow,
doses. We
slow.
always do.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have a lot of hands up, so I'm gonna
Did all that make sense?
Yes, that made
Okay,
sense.
good. All right,
Yes.
good.
So we're gonna go to Mary. I'm gonna spotlight Mary, and I'm gonna go off camera.
Hi, Mary.
Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Excellent. You too. I have a couple questions here. I'll try to
I
do
love your
that.
vacation home there. That's so awesome.
Yes,
Oh
it's
my God.
fantastic.
That is
I
beautiful.
gotta be forward thinking.
Yeah. Is that your own
Okay.
private beach too? I don't see anybody there.
Not
That's
yet.
awesome. Good job, Mary. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. One question. What are your thoughts around keeping inflammation down in the body by keeping the body in a more kind of alkaline state as measured via, let's say, saliva or urine test strips? Do you think that is helpful as a
Well,
start?
I'm not exactly sure what the question is, but I'll assume that you mean you want me to talk about alkaline acid.
Yeah.
Acid is a sign of waste.
Yeah.
Okay. So alkalinity, the body prefers alkalinity. When you're acidic, there's a lot of metabolism going on and waste that's not being cleared. Alkalinity is really an electrical phenomenon. We think of it like a chemistry phenomenon. That's a really important point, by the way. We're not chemistry beings, we're electrical beings.
Right.
And I think you're an engineer, aren't you? Are you an
Yeah.
electrical engineer, Mary? You're an EE?
No,
Okay. So
no, but I do
you understand what I'm
study it.
saying? We're
Yeah.
electrical, and the chemistry carries the electricity, but we're fundamentally electrical. Everything is fundamentally electrical. The universe, the reality, everything is fundamentally electrical, including our bodies. And the reason nutrients work is because they facilitate electrical energy.
Mhm.
So alkaline acid, while it is a chemistry phenomena, pH, as with chemistry, is really fundamentally about electricity. And alkalinity represents electrons, pieces of energy. So the
Yeah.
system is alkaline, there's energy there. When the system is acid, there's less energy there. So the body is kind of geared to run with extra energy, with electrons. It wants to be
Mhm.
alkaline. But here it's a little bit more sophisticated than this because, interestingly, acid triggers alkaline.
Mm.
So the way the system is built, that's why when you lift weights and you feel
Mhm.
the burn,
Yep.
what happens? You grow. Acid actually triggers a capacity to handle more stress. So acid is actually a signal. The problem is when there's too much acid
Mhm.
and when it's chronic and the body can't catch up because there's not enough resources for it to compensate for the acid. That's where you run into a problem. So we don't want to be so down on acid because acid is an important trigger. However, when it accumulates, you got a problem. For most of us, it's not an issue because the body can handle acid. But when you're older or when it happens a lot, you got an issue. So alkalinization can be very important. The body will alkalinize. We've talked about this, how calcium come out. And we talk about alkalinity and acid, we're talking about the blood. You know,
Mhm.
saliva is a measurement of what's in the blood and urine is a
Right.
measurement of what's in the blood, but it's really about the blood.
Right.
And so the body has a way of raising the pH, that is alkalinizing the blood, and that's the release of calcium. There's also some other mechanisms as well, but
Mhm.
one of the most important is calcium. Another very important mechanism for raising the pH is breathing, oxygen. And that's why slow, deep breathing has a relaxing effect. And breathing is it sounds crazy that we need to learn to breathe, but we do. You know, I've talked to people, who aren't involved in health and nutrition. I tell them about breathing. They think it's the craziest thing in the world. What do you mean breathing? Of course I'm breathing. I don't have any problem breathing. No, we don't breathe correctly. And you'll find that there are different, if you go on YouTube or you read books, there's different ways to breathe.
Yep.
So you want to make sure those are the two primary ways. Now, there are people who will tell you about foods and sugar and junk foods and those kinds of things. Those contribute a little bit for sure, but they're not the most important factors. The most important factor is metabolic waste, which is secondary to degeneration and inflammation and MBFA. So focusing on acid alkaline, you could do it in the short term by breathing for sure, but really you want to focus on it like an MBFA issue.
Mhm.
And that takes you to the triangle of disease: digestion,
Okay.
blood sugar, adrenal thyroid complex. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I think
So-
I guess the other point I think I heard you said, I wanted to make sure if the body is over acidic, it typically would release calcium.
Calcium is
Order
away
in
the
the
blood.
blood.
Say the blood. Say the blood,
the
not the
blood.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
blood.
yeah,
It will
yeah.
release calcium, exactly.
In the
And that's
blood.
one
So
of its
when people
mechanisms.
are
The
testing
kidney,
high calcium
yeah,
levels, it's like
and that's why sometimes, they'll say something like there's too much calcium, but there's all these regulatory systems. You don't want to get too much into the weeds here because it's so networked and web-like and everything is connected to everything else. That's why what we're talking about here is so nice because it's like cutting the head off a snake. It's like the Gordian knot. You ever hear the Gordian knot, the story of the Gordian knot? I know I've told before, but I'll just say it again. Alexander the Great, one of those brilliant generals in the history, in human history, was, and by the way, Alexander the Great died when he was 33 years old or so. He died very young. And his famous quote right before he died, he says, "I am dying at the hand of too many doctors." Interesting. That was like 200 BC, right? So, kind of amusing there. But anyway, Alexander the Great is traveling around doing his little military thing, and he comes to the country of Gordia. And in front of the country of Gordia, right before you get into the country, there's a tree, and there's a big, huge knot on the tree. It's called the Gordian knot. And the legends goes that anybody who can get rid of the Gordian knot will become emperor of Gordia. And people tried for decades to try to figure out how to get rid of that Gordian knot. It was just so complicated. And there's so many, it was like just, you've seen a knot before where everything is all put together and it's hard to pull it out. And people could not figure this Gordian knot out. And Alexander the Great comes along, trained by Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers who ever lived. And he looks at the Gordian knot and he says, "What's that?" They say, "Hey, if you can figure out this Gordian knot, you become the emperor of Gordia." Alexander the Great says, "Really?" He goes, "Okay." He takes his knife, boom, cuts the Gordian knot. Says, "I'm the king. I'm the emperor of Gordia." And that's the legend of the Gordian knot. That's how you do health. You cut the knot. You don't need to have all these freaking tests and metrics and this diagnosis and this specialist and this medication. You cut the damn knot. Catch the leaky gut, reduce the sugar, lighten up, breathe, meditate, sleep, have a good life. All these things. Simple. Health is simple. I don't know if you heard Jill, if you were on the call with Jill. Jill and I are writing a book. It's called Your Health. It's simpler than you think. It's easy. Don't let them confuse you. Obfuscation is one of the main weapons of tyranny.
Yeah.
It makes you think you can't do anything. Oh, too complicated. No, it's not complicated. And you can test this out yourself by fasting.
Yeah.
If you can fast for 2 days and you feel better, that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I've definitely done that many times. So I will, I'll turn it over to Phyllis. Hopefully someone can do that for me and let her ask a couple of questions from YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Go back to the beach. Hi,
Hello,
Phyllis.
Ben. How are you?
My old friend Phyllis from decades ago, and you look exactly the same. I don't know how you do that.
Thank you. It's the fountain of youth.
I love
through
it.
longevity. Awesome. Okay, we have a question from Olga on YouTube.
Hi, Olga. Yes.
She asks, does supplemental hyaluronic acid need to be in liposomal form?
No, absolutely not. And then there are companies are always looking for an edge, a marketing story. Hyaluronic acid is very well handled by the body, but as we said earlier, it acts as a signaling molecule. It's not like, talked about that when we talked about Richard Renton. In any case, hyaluronic acid does not need to be liposomal. It's water soluble. It's very well handled by the body. It does not need to be in the liposome.
Good to know. And I have a
and you can't get a lot in a liposome anyway. The liposome's a liposome's a little bubble. You can't fit a lot of stuff inside that bubble. So liposomal stuff is really usually low concentration and expensive. You don't need a liposome. No.
Sounds a bit like a marketing gimmick.
It is a marketing gimmick, absolutely.
Yeah. I have a client. She and her son are both dealing with higher blood sugar or dysglycemia, as you like to call it.
Yeah.
Her son, and we advise people we warn them about eating fruit, that it spikes your blood sugar. And she said her son said persimmons are okay.
Look, here's the thing about fruit. And persimmons, I don't know what he means by okay, but
That they don't spike your blood sugar.
No, they always spike. They'll all spike your blood sugar to a certain extent, to one extent or another. And that's the reason for that is because fruits have been genetically modified. And when I say genetically modified, I don't mean high tech. I mean over the course of thousands of years, they've been bred. And I don't even really know the techniques that farmers use for breeding, but it has to do with selective, like picking the sweetest fruits and then growing those. And there's a whole science to that. And so over the course of many, many years, fruits have been designed to have lots of sugar or modified to have lots of sugar in them. The sugar in fruits is fructose, and fructose has its own scale of problems that's separate from glucose. And you got to be careful with fruits. Now, there is fiber in fruits, which slows down the release of the fructose. There's also nutrients. Presumably, if it's fresh, you're going to get magnesium, you get chromium, you'll get zinc. And all of these will, and plus you get structured water. So all of these will help slow down the release of the fructose. So fruits aren't like, junk food. I'm not going to say that, but you still want to respect the fruit. Persimmons are probably, and I'm thinking pomegranate. I'm not exactly sure what a persimmon is. I'd have to see a picture of it. I'm not, off the top of my head, I can't really see. If somebody wants to post a picture of it, I probably could tell you. But you can tell fruits have been genetically modified by their size. Like on the African savanna, where we grew up, you got little crab apples if you were lucky, maybe. Today, have you seen the apples they have at the grocery store? Like this big. Those did not exist historically from an evolutionary standpoint. So you got to be a little bit careful with fruits. That being said, there's wonderful nutrients in fruits. Where it becomes really, really problematic is fruit juices. Mm-hmm. And even though we have this kind of feeling about fruit juices being good for you, those are really a problem because you lose the fiber and you get a big hit of fructose right into your blood. It's liquid, so it goes right into the system. Those are problematic. Persimmons are probably, as I recall, they're smaller, I think, and they're probably one of the better fruits, but you still want to respect the fruit.
And when people do juicing,
I know what a persimmon. Graziano says it looks like a tomato. I know what a persimmon is. Be careful with persimmons. They're delicious. They're absolutely delicious. And I love persimmons. But you got to, if you like it, it's probably sugar. So you got to be a little bit careful with it. That's all. It's better than a candy bar, of course.
When you're juicing, don't you lose the fiber in the fruit?
Yes, that's the problem. Exactly. Mm-hmm. When you're juicing. Now, if you use a Vitamix, you'll get the fiber. You'll still get the fiber. And that's why I always recommend a Vitamix. But some people don't like the thickness. And that there is a thickness.
Mm-hmm. One more question, a strange tinnitus situation. Christy has put in the chat, back in 2013, she's walking down a grocery store aisle. All of a sudden, her right ear goes deaf. She says the ENT doctor was no help, and she has had terrible tinnitus since. She's taken longevity products over the years that have helped her other problems, but not that.
Well, that's not strange. That's normal. That's exactly how it happens. She was walking. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, like you were saying, you don't have the fairy come down and suddenly you go
it's
deaf.
Building and it reaches a tipping point. It reaches a threshold. It reaches critical mass. This is all based in something called systems theory, by the way. Systems theory says that systems change after storing up energy for a while. And the classic example is boiling water. You turn on you put a pot of water in the stove, you turn on the heat, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, boom, you reach a critical mass, it starts bubbling. What happened? Did an angel come and do something to make it bubble? No, the heat has been building up. It's called latent energy, hidden energy. Latent means underneath. And the latent energy has been building up underneath. You don't see it. And then all of a sudden it tips over and goes into a different, called a phase shift. It goes into a different phase and starts bubbling. Well, how did that happen? A second ago, it wasn't bubbling. And then this second is bubbling. What happened? What happened was all that latent energy built up until all of a sudden the system rearranged itself in order to handle all that energy, and you see bubbling. That's the tinnitus. Is building and building and building and building. She's walking down the grocery store aisle, and all of a sudden, boom! Because she didn't see that over the course of the years and the months and the years and the decades, things were bubbling. The energy was building and building and building, And then all of a sudden she's walking down the grocery store and it reached a tipping point. Now she says she's doing a lot of the longevity things, but is she doing a food diary? Is she eliminating problem foods? Is she working on digestive health? Is she controlling metabolic syndrome? And again, this is based on something called deductive reasoning. There's two kinds of reasoning. There's inductive reasoning and there's deductive reasoning. You ever see Sherlock Holmes movies? They go, deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is where you start off with a premise and then you deduce things from it. Inductive reasoning is when you have a bunch of ideas and you get a theory from it. It's the opposite. This is deductive reasoning. We start off with a premise, then we deduce. The premise is that if you're sick, you got dirty blood. If you got dirty blood, somehow the blood is something's getting into the bloodstream inappropriately. If something's getting into the bloodstream inappropriately, it has to happen through the skin or it happens through the gut. If it's not happening through the skin, it has to happen through the gut. You see how we're working downward from a premise. The premise is that if you have a degenerative condition, you got dirty blood. That's the premise. But it's logical when you think about it. How else could it happen? Unless it's mechanical. You know, you get hit in the head, that can happen. But other than that, if it's a degenerative condition, it has to be a blood condition. It has to be. And then you deduce downwards. You start coming up with a rationale and a reasoning to prove that's associated with your original premise, your original idea. Deductive reasoning. If you have a degenerative condition, that means you got a blood condition. You got a blood condition, unless you're an IV drug user or you're somehow been injected with something, it's got to be through food. And Christy says, I'm doing all the things regarding diet. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And what Christy's saying is very common. We hear this all the time. I'm sure you've heard it. Oh, but I'm off gluten. Oh, but I don't have any digestive issues. Doesn't matter. Because if you accept the premise, and maybe you don't accept the premise, maybe you say, no, Ben, you're crazy. That's not true. That doesn't happen. If you don't accept the premise, that's different. But if you accept the premise that you can't have a degenerative condition without dirty blood, then there's something that's getting into the blood. And to say, oh, I'm doing everything, that doesn't work, because where there's smoke, there's fire. You can't say, oh, I know I smell smoke, but nah, I don't have a fire because I put fire retardant in my wall, so I don't have a fire. No, there's smoke. That means there's a fire. Oh, no, but I put fire retardant in the wall, so I'm okay. No, the smoke, you got a fire somewhere. You see what I'm saying?
Denial.
Yeah. Oh, no, but I'm off gluten. I'm off the 7 bad foods, but I still got my arthritis. Well, you got smoke. That means there's a fire somewhere. Can't have smoke without a fire. You can't have tinnitus without something getting in the blood. Now, you could say, Ben, your theory is full of baloney, and that's different. But if you accept what I just said, that degenerative conditions require distribution through the blood of toxicity or some kind of inflammatory condition, then you got to follow through with all the logical deductions that come from that original theory or premise.
Thanks for making it clear. I will make way for AJ.
Okay.
Hey, Pharmacist Ben, how's it going?
Going good. Good to see you, AJ.
You as well. Thank you very much. As far as you mentioned GABA earlier, products that we have with GABA are the HGH Youth Complex and Sleep Ease, and the Sleep Gummies also have GABA.
Yeah, and let me mention one other thing I thought of this. The Fucoid with collagen, those are great for leaky gut, for patching up the gut. So those are 2 really nice products. Also the collagen peptides. I forgot to mention those, and the TMR shake.
Fantastic. You know, Pharmacist Ben, I got a question.
Yes.
That one of our great distributors wrote in. I believe his name is Steve, and his client is in her 60s and suffering from high iron levels in her blood. And what would you suggest to counteract that? The doctors told her to give blood, which did help lower the iron level, but
it goes back up again.
How can this be sustainable? Yeah.
Unbelievable. How do you do it? What's going on? There's a chemical in the body that controls iron levels. Iron is a very, very mixed bag, because iron's really important, obviously, but it's also very toxic to the body. It induces free radicals. It's an oxidant, a pro-oxidant.
Makes you rust?
It makes it, well, it does rust.
I
It doesn't
mean,
make you rust. It does rust, yes.
so
So iron has to be highly, highly, highly controlled. And there's many control mechanisms for it, largely in the liver. So you want to regard, again, you're going to triangulate here. You're going to look for multiple points. Iron blood is just one point. But you want to look for other points. The regulatory chemical in the body that controls iron absorption from food and release from storage is something called hepcidin. Hepcidin controls iron levels in the blood. And hepcidin, Hepcidin, is the main biochemical mechanism, or molecule, we'll say, for preventing iron overload. When you have too much iron, if you're healthy, hepcidin levels go up, which sequesters iron, blocks iron, and then iron levels drop. Under iron deficiency states, hepcidin levels drop. So if you have high levels of iron, you want to assume you have a hepcidin problem, which means you have a liver problem. Considering that fatty liver disease and liver issues are an epidemic, it's a pretty good bet that this woman has a liver issue. Now, keep in mind that at this point in time, doctors say that if you have a mild inflammatory liver problem, they call it steatohepatitis, fatty liver, different names for it, NASH or MASH, they call it. If you have these conditions and it's not really significant enough, it hasn't reached a certain point, they'll tell you it's normal. So you may think that everything's fine because they're at this point in time in the year 2025, since almost everybody has a liver problem, they've raised the bar on what liver disease really is. But if you have iron overload, you want to assume that first thing you want to think about is a liver issue. Now, considering, how old is this person, did you say?
60 years old.
Well, almost guaranteed there's a liver problem there. Again, is this person on the call?
No.
So I'd be look for metabolic syndrome. Look for the triangle. Work on the triangle. And this for everybody with iron overload. Consider iron overload or elevated levels of iron. We'll say, yeah, you can give blood and that'll help. And it's a great idea to give blood anyway. But you want to look at a liver issue, which means a metabolic issue. The liver's kind of the bridge between the digestive system and the blood sugar system. The liver and the gallbladder are kind of the link between the first point on the triangle and the second point on the triangle. So if you have, you're working with disease states that go back to the triangle, digestion, liver, gallbladder, blood sugar. That's kind of the 3 points, or the liver and the gallbladder is the bridge between the 2 points, the 2 bottom points on the triangle.
Yeah, Pharmacist Ben, some of the things that I do to study what you and Dr. Wallach have said in the past, I make different tools. You've seen me make some websites, et cetera. So in that process, it helps me to learn some stuff. But one of the things Doc said about this topic was that the body also needs copper to process.
Copper is also another dangerous element, but yes, copper is very important. Copper is incredibly important, actually. Both copper and iron, they're phenomenally valuable elements. But in nutrition and in biochemistry, sometimes when things are really important, they're also really dangerous. Because what makes something important biochemically is its flexibility, its instability. The very unstable nature of iron and copper make it very important for energy, particularly in the mitochondria. So these elements are really, really important for energy because they can carry electrical energy and release electrical energy. And this carrying of electrical energy and releasing of electrical energy makes them unstable. And this can create a problem. So that's why nutrition has to be kind of like a system. You can't just take one thing because, remember, I don't know if you remember our Mickey Mouse ear model. Remember Absolutely. The Mickey Mouse ears, right? So when iron loses an electron and has only one Mickey Mouse ear, you got to have something that will replace that Mickey Mouse ear. Otherwise, that iron becomes dangerous. And copper is the same way. In fact, copper and iron are probably two of the most important transition metals or transition elements that do this. And so, yes, copper is very, very important, as is iron, but you got to be careful with both.
That was going to be my question. Are they in your transition section?
Yes, if you look
And,
at the periodic table, which, you know, I know you got to be a chemist to love this thing, but it's really, really amazing. I mean, it teaches you a lot. The periodic table, you'll see iron, cobalt, and nickel, and copper, and zinc, right, and chromium right in the middle. They call those transition metals, and especially it's iron and copper are two of the most unstable of these elements. They're very, very important, obviously, but the instability means you got to be careful. That's why vitamin C is so important. Vitamin E is so important. Vitamin nutrients are so important. All your antioxidants are so important. Your ORACs. And again, this is one of the best high ORAC supplements you'll ever take. ORAC means is a measurement of antioxidancy.
fantastic, Pharmacist Ben. We're gonna let Graz ask your question.
Yeah,
Graz,
let's kick Graziano on the call. Can you show his face? Graziano, I've been talking to Graziano for
Ben.
years. How long have I been
Hey.
talking to you, Graziano?
Since October of 2011.
Can you believe that? I
Yeah,
don't think
and
show your. Yeah, I've never seen you. I don't think.
I don't know.
Are you
I'm trying
shy?
to show my I'm trying to show my camera. But,
No worries, no worries, no worries. What's going on?
So I
Hey,
also was
Graziano, tell that story you told me about. I think you told me a really cool story about was it cancer?
Yeah. So my mom is 73 years old. And she was diagnosed allegedly with multiple sclerosis December 10th of 2025. She still works full time. She works for Costco down here in San Diego, and she's a cashier and goes to work like that with pain on her legs every day. It got to the point where she was crawling.
Oh, geez.
Crawling. She lives in she lives in a 2-story, so she crawls up the stairs.
Oh my God.
Well, she came home crying one day because she told me that she was diagnosed, and I started smiling. I said, "Yippee!" And she's like, "What?" I said, "Now we know what your issue is, what your problem is, because before then I was trying to tell her to implement all these strategies that I've learned from Ben Feek since 2011. I've implemented every single strategy to the T for my entire family. Reverse celiac disease with my daughter. Reverse my wife's 13-year depression. Reverse my brother's diverticulitis. Reverse my son's non-alcoholic liver disease. Reverse my mom had vertigo at one point. Reverse that. Reversed right now. So now I'm working on my mom's multiple sclerosis. I quickly implemented the CRAN diet, right?
Yeah.
Caloric restriction, adequate nutrition, hybrid, and obviously the ketogenic diet. Got rid of all her fat, her insulin stuff, the carbohydrates, the breads, the pasta, cereal, grains of any kind.
Right.
I told her to fast for 2 days. Did a food diary. I'm working on her blood sugar because she's overweight. I'm working, and she's losing weight like crazy.
How's her
Gave
MS?
Her her MS. She can now walk in 1 month, literally in a week. Actually, as a matter of fact, within a week, she's
Praise
up
God.
and walking, cleaning her house.
And she's crawling. And she was
crawling. She was crawling. So everything's
That's
reversible. Yes.
I want everybody on this call to hear that, because this is not special. This is generic. Anybody can do it. How many people do we know have MS? Thank you, Graziano. It's awesome, awesome story.
Yeah, my best friend's mom died of MS just a year ago. And in 2013, I had this protocol that I got from your show, Brightside Ben, that I had all this down. And I'm like, listen, I'll help you. And she was a registered nurse, retired. And she's like, no, I'm okay. I don't believe in nutrition, yada, yada, yada. She ended up dying just 2 years ago. And, and here we are. Yeah. So I told my mom, you're not going to die on my watch. Not like this.
I'm going
to make sure you're going to live to your 90 plus years with the mighty 90. So
awesome. Thank you, Graziano, for sharing that. We got only a few minutes here. What's going on?
All right. Oh, no, I'm good. I just wanted to share.
Oh, you just wanted to share that. I see.
I just want to share that.
Thank you. I want everybody to hear that, because I'm telling you this as a therapist and as a chemist. Graziano's telling you this as a patient, or as somebody who's actually implementing these ideas. That's awesome, Graziano.
It works 100%, 1,000%.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Graziano. I really appreciate that.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Anybody else, AJ? Is that cool?
That's fantastic. Ruth Ellen, we're going to go to, who are we going to, Ruth Ellen? Caleb or Mary?
Caleb. Let's go to Caleb. And then we'll wrap it up.
Caleb?
Hello? Yes, Caleb. What's your question?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
2 questions and a statement.
Yes.
One, year and a half, I heard Dr. Wallach for the first time, and he is truthfully implementing his program has truthfully changed my life. I'd love to turn this camera on, but
It's all right.
I had horrible problems that all went away when I started listening to Dr. Wallach and implementing the program, starting the supplements. My buddy did everything I did. He's lost 150 pounds, and he's now off of 4 blood pressure pills, off of 3 kinds of insulin, and off of all of his meds.
Awesome.
So now my mom, I'm trying to get her to listen and to implement. She sees what it's done to both of us, but she is so far down the rabbit hole of medicine that she doesn't really want to listen. So I've listened to you, and I know you can come up with a protocol. I feel like she'll take it better coming from you.
Here's the thing. I'm sorry. Tell me your name again. I didn't catch your name.
Caleb.
Taylor?
Caleb.
Caleb. Here's the problem, Caleb. You don't want to help people who don't want to be helped. Everybody gets the right to be sick, even if they're your mother or your kid. It's hard when you see somebody you love and you can help them. They don't want help, but that's on us. That's not on them. People don't want to be helped sometimes. We don't know what's going on in their heads. You ever see that Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs Bunny is trying to walk this little old lady across the street, and the little old lady is taking her umbrella and she's hitting him on the head while he's walking her across the street because she doesn't want to be walked across the street. That's not what she wants. And that's how we have to look at it. And I never persuade anybody. I always tell people, I do a lot of calls, I help people on the phone, and people have friends and family, clients they want me to help. And the first thing I always say is, I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to persuade you. I only work with people who want to be helped, who are really interested and open-minded to hear this. Not everybody is, and Jesus loves them too. God loves everybody. You know what? I'm not judging anybody, and I'm not judging people who don't want to be helped. That's their business. We don't know what's going on in their heads. So, it's especially hard when it's somebody you care about and love, but that's on you, Caleb. I don't mean to be rude here, but that's something you have to address. What I'm saying?
She does want to be helped.
If she really does want to be helped, then start off with food. Start with food.
So I've got her doing a low carb.
It's not low carb. You don't want to.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I've got her doing no gluten, no oils.
It's none of that. It's none of that.
Caleb. Doing the keto.
Caleb, it's not that. It's not that. It's her specific problems. It's a really important point. So you want her to isolate her body's responses to specific foods. It turns out that oils are a problem for most people. It turns out that gluten is a problem for most people. But you want her to actually see her body's reactions to specific foods, which is why
I've got her doing a food diary too.
There you go. That's the key right there, is the food diary. And for everybody like Caleb who's out there want to help somebody, get on Critical Health News and AJ, right? Critical Health News, and get the food diary. We have it all printed out for you, and you could do it. It's easy to do. Does that make sense, Caleb? It's like you want to see her. You want her to see the responses. So, do you have a question? Anything you want to ask me?
She wants to get a supplement pack, is what I was trying to say. But I want to make sure we get her on the right stuff. So that's what I was gonna.
Okay, yeah. I would say everybody starts with a Healthy Start Pack. If the 3 products. If you want to add stuff in, start doing stuff for the digestive system. I-26, that'd be the first thing I would do. And then Ultimate Enzyme. I mean, I could give you the whole list. Ultimate Enzymes, Daily Digest, Ultimate Microbiome, Nightly Essence, Dr. R.I.'s Liver Cleanse, FucoidZ, or FucoidZ with collagen now, collagen peptides, TMR Shake. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. But basically, Healthy Start Pack first for everybody. Because remember, when you have a digestive problem, you're going to be functionally malnourished, and that's going to make it much harder to recover. So Healthy Start Pack first, and then the digestive support. And then if you want some after that, work with the blood sugar.
Okay.
Did you have a statement you want to make?
I think my statement was just my testimony there.
Good. Thank you so much, Caleb. Have we met?
Thank you.
I don't think I met you. Have I, Caleb?
No, we have not. Maybe that was my other question. I've never gotten hooked in with you guys as far as I would like to become a distributor. What's your recommendation on that?
Call us. We're looking, everybody out there listening, we're looking for distributors who
Okay.
like this. We want distributors who like this kind of stuff. Is this interesting to you, Caleb, aside from your personal, the personal connection you have. Do you like this kind of stuff?
Oh, I love it, man. Nutrition's all I do now. I'm a
good, right?
registered nurse, but I've just fallen into this nutrition rabbit hole.
You're a nurse? Wait a minute. You're a nurse?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I want to talk to you. AJ, let's do it. You want to do a three-way with us? Caleb, I'd love to talk to you. I love
For
nurses.
Sure.
Love nurses.
I've been an ER nurse for 10 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations, and thank you for your service, truly. That's awesome, Caleb.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Caleb. Ben, you have a hard stop. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Hard stop.
Caleb, give us a call at 855-949-3377 and ask for AJ, and he'll get you with Ben.
I want to talk to Caleb. That's awesome. All right, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Ben. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Ben, Monday night at 9 o'clock.
Monday night, we'll be there. All right, bye. I'm gonna go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Pharmacist Ben will be back with us next Friday for another show. And if you have questions that didn't get answered, please write them down so you remember, and then join us again. So I am going to ask my co-host to join me on the screen. And also, we do have an announcement that needs to be made. But I want to thank you all for coming and for being part of our show, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And also, always remember to be kind to each other and thoughtful and listen to people. And just act with your heart and not whatever's going on with you that day. Sometimes that's a challenge. I know it is sometimes for me, but be kind. And also, this program was meant for educational purposes only and not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases or replace the care of your primary care physician. All righty, AJ, you have an announcement to make.
I got a bunch of announcements, Ruth Ellen.
All right, go for it.
Fantastic job today. Great week we had at Daily with Doc. Good response. And I'm sure you're going to thank our team when I'm done. But
I will.
First, starting very, very soon, we've been talking about this for a little while, but starting very, very soon, this Zoom room will be closed to the public, but open to all of you who email us at zoom@dailywithdoc.com to make sure that you are counted as one of the family of the Daily with Doc Zoom, so that you can come in as a VIP member of the team. And this is the one place in the world where VIP membership is free. All you got to do is send us the email at zoom@dailywithdoc.com. We got 30 or 40 people who've already done that, but this is your opportunity. Make sure you email zoom@dailywithdoc.com. To get your copy of the food diary, you want to go to criticalhealthnews.com and sign up for the newsletter, and you'll be able to get a copy of Pharmacist Ben and Jonty's food diary. And I had something else, but I can't remember, so take it away.
Okay. All right. So remember that if you want to continue to be on the Zoom, you're going to have to email zoom@dailywithdoc.com in order to continue to be on this show with us. So I just want to thank our amazing co-hosts and give a shout out first to Rebecca Dukes, who's traveling, and we missed you a lot, girl. So Marilyn, she is our Miss Speedy Fingers, and she types almost every single word that Pharmacist Ben says, and our other guests, and then she adds other information in there. I don't know how she has time to look something up and then post it and keep posting what is being said. So kudos to you, Marilyn. And then we have Albert, who is the gatekeeper and our security, and he is the person that lets you in. And if you have like a phone number or a name that's not known, he will ask you what your name is and change it. So, because some people don't know how to do that. So he does that as well, along with posting our descriptions and different things so that AJ can use them when he's reposting the shows. That's a big job. Thank you so much for that. And he answers the phone in the middle of the night when the rest of us are sleeping, because it's like 11 p.m. for him because he's in South Africa. And then we have Mary, who is also helping with letting people in and bringing questions in from different platforms and just doing a lot of stuff. And she's new to the team, so welcome. And then we have Rod, who is also out there with the different platforms and helps Albert when he's here, letting people in and doing things. We have a few people that do that. And kudos to you, Rod. Thank you for being part of our team. And then we have Phyllis, who is also helping Marilyn to type when Marilyn's asking questions. And she also adds other things as well and posting the protocols that Ben or Doc or Dr. Joanne give when they're on. And also she is a pioneer that helped Dr. Wallach get on the radio. So her and her husband worked tirelessly to help him get on the radio. And how many of us would have never known about him if we didn't hear him on the radio? So thank you for that so much. And then we have AJ, who is our digital marketing director, and he is out there everywhere. He's building tools for our team. He's promoting the show. He's doing Ben Bites on Monday. Make sure you tune into that. What time is it this week?
That will be 9 p.m. Eastern time on all your favorite BAT platforms.
Nice. Thank you. All right. So just remember to have a really good weekend and be kind. And AJ has something else to say.
Well, it's just a shameless plug because all the people on this screen are certified holistic health coaches. And if you want to become a certified holistic health coach, you should probably call us so you can become one. And if you like the longevity, which you've heard, I mean, I heard some amazing testimonials today, and they're not rare. We hear these things all the time. You want to be and do like we do, and all the lovely people who are in the Zoom room with us, the great people who are watching with us on YouTube and Rumble and X, all of these people, for the most part, know what we do and what's going on. And if you want to be on the inside, call us 855-949-3377. Or if someone told you about this, they know what's going on, and you need to get back with them and ask them, how do I get more involved? Because there's a whole world of hurt out there, and they need the message that has helped everybody that you see on the screen and countless others.
Yes. Yes. Make sure to give us a call at 855-949-3377. And if you have questions, you can email us at questions@dailywithdoc.com. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a beautiful weekend, everybody, and just enjoy life. There's lots of good in it. You just got